Hello, and welcome to Alchemy Mindset. I'm your host, Anna Hasty, business mindset coach for women and a sound healer. If you are ready to become the most aligned, magnetic, and confident businesswoman you are worthy and deserving of being, then this show is for you. This is where I share everything from mindset, energy, and spirituality, and how to embody your future self in business and life. Sprinkle that with deeply relaxing sound healings and meditations, and you have the Alchemy Mindset podcast. Hit subscribe so you always get the latest episode. Now let's begin. Hello. Welcome to episode, it's 71 of the Alchemy Mindset podcast. How did I get to episode 71? Wow. I want to start by saying, no doubt you have a dream lifestyle or vision you want to have to match the business of your dreams. Am I right? And the thing is, often we have this belief or, I guess, feeling that it's only possible for us once we've reached a certain milestone or achieved a certain thing, and that it might even feel a little bit of elusive or even further away than what we are really hoping it to be right now. I want to say that you can actually start living that life you want in this moment by creating a strategy and a process to make it happen. I mean, why wait for some future milestone or goal to be achieved to have that lifestyle that you want right now? Like, honestly, you can go for it right now. My guest on today's episode of Alchemy Mindset, Jessica Osborn, shares exactly how to start living that dream life now and create that work-life balance, which we all would love to have, that will support you in building the business of your dreams. Jessica is an online business strategist and marketing coach and the host of She's the Business podcast. And she's also a published co-author and a travel-obsessed mum of two. We actually had a lot of conversation prior to hitting record about our love for snowboarding and skiing and Japan and the snow. Oh gosh, a woman of my own heart. She has over 25 years experience building businesses, including two of her own since 2010. Jessica specializes in marketing strategy for high-ticket services, helping other female coaches reach multiple six figures in less than 20 hours a week without big advertising budgets or time-consuming cold sales, so that they can have more time with their family and enjoy that life. She's incredibly passionate about changing our perspective on work and success, proving it's possible to prioritize family life and be highly successful in business without burning yourself to the ground. I mean, how the hell are we going to achieve our life and have what we want if we're too tired, burnt out, and just not able to perform within the work that we do? And I kid you not, you will literally and definitely want to take notes and re-listen to this episode as Jessica shares so much helpful insight as to how we can review our work week to identify where we are leaking time or spending too much time on offers, services, or products that are not supporting you in building and making the desired income to match that dream lifestyle you want to have in return. So get ready to bookmark this episode, take lots of notes, and listen really carefully. She also explains why we often fear standing behind our expertise and pricing our services to attract our dream clients, emphasizing the importance of doing the mindset work to strengthen our beliefs in the value of what we have to offer. So strap in, get ready for a fun-filled episode that I know you'll come back to time and time again, because Jess just shares so much wisdom that I was like, wow, even I was taking notes. And not just to write the show notes for this episode. So get ready, enjoy this podcast with Jessica Osborn, and let's begin. Hello. Welcome, Jess. Welcome to Alchemy Mindset. I am so pleased to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you, Anna. I'm so excited to be here with you as well. Can't wait for this chat. Oh, this is going to be such a great chat because we were just having a little, a pre-chat before hitting record. And yeah, the conversation to everybody who wasn't involved in that was already circulating around travel, snowboarding, all the things that, things that I love to talk about and enjoy in life outside of work. So welcome, Jess. I know you're going to share some really cool and fun things today. Please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Sure, no worries. So I am a marketing coach, a strategic coach for other coaches and advisors, really helping them with what I call a high ticket strategy to help them create multiple six-figure businesses in less than 20 hours a week. Because, for me, what's so important is that we're living our life right now. It's not like we're building something so that we can have a life that we want sometime in the future that's always just going to seem like it's, a few steps away. And when am I ever going to get there? And for me, it's like, well, actually, you can have a life that you want right now. It's just about plugging in those bits of strategy so that you create it now and you can kind of have the lifestyle while you're building your business vision. So that's, I guess, it in a nutshell.
Yeah, amazing. You've already said something that I'm just like, wow, that is such a good point that you've highlighted, is that we often feel like we're working towards that dream, that lifestyle, that ideal of how we want to be through creating the business that we're creating, working and running from. But it's actually, it makes it feel like it's this elusive way out in the future point, right? Rather than actually going, well, maybe I just bring it into now and start living that as it is now, because this is my life. So why wouldn't it be now? Yeah.
This is no dress rehearsal. You only get one life, right? So for me, I'm like, wow, we're not getting any younger. Like literally every day we're a day older and we can't go back and you can't get that time back. So I'm like, well, I want to be doing all the things that I want to do now. I don't want to kind of wait until I've got to some point, which I think always shifts, doesn't it? Because you think, well, if I just get to here, then it'll be fine. Oh no, now I just need to get to there. And it's an ever moving goalpost that we naturally have. So it's like, well, why not actually have the life that you want now while you're still working towards some milestones for your business? But your business can absolutely create and support the life that you want, and it can upgrade as you go as well. But I'm all about, enjoy every moment, every day. And I think you would align with that, especially after you become a mum and you realize, oh my goodness, this time just goes so quickly. And unfortunately, when I had my first child, I was still working in corporate, went back to work. I was so kind of, really, what's the right word there? I was really into my career. Like I thought that that was what I wanted. I was already head of marketing. I was like, right, I'm in the exec team. The next step is, kind of CEO sort of level. I was so involved in it during that first maternity leave. I was in my business emails. I was still connecting with people on my team. I really didn't take time off, effectively to spend with the baby. Went back to work and it was like, wow, I'm leaving my child in daycare, stressing out to get to the office, doing what I can there so I can leave and pick him up, which felt like a really long day. But then everyone in the office is sort of looking, going, oh, part-timer or getting out early. And I'm like, no, I literally sat at my desk and worked my butt off the whole time I was there in the office. And so that I can leave, I didn't take a lunch break. I wasn't swanning around drinking coffee and doing all the things, actually just working really hard. And then I looked and thought, this next step, what is it that I'm actually working towards here? Because I started to look at the CEO and their life and I was like, I don't want that. They never see their family. Their kids hardly know them. They're more married to their work and their business than they are to their life. And their whole life is just sort of being lived around them. And they are literally living in work. And I had that moment of going, I don't want that at all. I actually love life. I've been someone who's loved traveling. I know we were chatting about our snowboarding travels and the places that we've been and lived in. And I was like, that's what lights me up. Why can't I have a successful business career, whatever, have that income and that fulfillment and also be enjoying my life and actually be around for my kids. And, I started to realize, well, I want to be the kind of mum who drops their kid off at school and is there to pick them up in the afternoon, can take them to sports, and I'm not just sticking them in care. And, there's nothing against what you do what you need to do, right? So I'm not saying if you put your
Absolutely.
child in care, there's anything wrong with that. I was just really clear on what I wanted and what my version of parenting looked like. And I was like, you know what? These two things, they're not aligned at all. Like, I cannot continue here in this corporate world because it does not align with my ideal life. And it's just going to cause frustration and anguish constantly, this constant pressure. So that for me was just so important, starting this business, which was my second business. So I was like, I wasn't coming into it brand new, but like, right, I'm really 100% all in, both feet. I'm making this work because I really want the life that I want to live. And this is the way that I can have it, where I'm in charge and I can
That's
actually
incredible.
control it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something there where you said like my life in corporate and my life with my family just don't marry up, like they don't match. And it was quite interesting because I did see something on Instagram not too long ago and I was like, well, that's a really interesting thought, where it said that basically this person's opinion, obviously, but was that corporate world and business world doesn't hold place, or I mean, I guess it's maybe changing now, but for women and the way women need to work and the way we need to also be available and how we want to be available for our families at the same time, that the structures of work, you could say business, corporate, whatever, is very masculine. Let's just say it's been like, and we know this because business has been run predominantly by men for millions, like I won't say millions of years, but let's say centuries almost, hundreds of years. We could pretty much say that. And now that women do want to be in there and they want to earn money and be high achieving. And there's nothing wrong, like you said, if you want to work in corporate, by all means, like that's where your energy and your passion and that lie. But it's harder for women to, and particularly mothers, to fit themselves in that process because of the demands and what's been asked of them versus their desires to be with their family as well. Interesting side note here. I was like, oh, that actually brings a bell to something I saw. And I was like, that's quite interesting. I wonder how that's, where that will shift and change over this next period of time, because I feel like that change is starting to really come through.
I hope so. I think that I was really surprised because I thought that we were so much more further along and modern, and so many companies talk about, we're family friendly and we have flexible working and all of this. But the reality is a lot of it is just talk. A lot of it is like, this is our brand and our HR spiel to attract the right talent. But on the inside, like what I found, especially, and my experience is in male dominated industries as well. So, that probably doesn't help. But it was really interesting because as soon as I told them that I was pregnant, everything changed. I hadn't changed anything to do with what I was doing at work. Nothing changed. I had no, I wasn't asking for anything more. I wasn't, I literally had
looking
to tell
for special
them
treatment.
It got to the point where I was like 5 months in, I'm like, I look like I've been eating a few too many pies. So I think I've got to come clean. And it was, I don't know, something in my intuition had told me to hold off for as long as possible. And so it was interesting though. As soon as I said it, the response was, oh, don't worry, we'll find something for you to do when you come back. And I was like, excuse me? I'm coming back to my job. I haven't worked my butt off for 20 years to get to where I am, to come, to have you just put me somewhere. Like, I can't do that anymore. And it was honestly, I don't even know if they realize that they're doing it. I think they think this is us being, being understanding and flexible. And it's like, you are putting words of what I want in my mouth that I have not said. I've not said that I want that. I've not said anything. And I just found it really difficult, especially at that level. They don't want someone who they perceive. Then, I also got told, you'll now have different priorities, in a very condescending way. So that meant that my priority wasn't going to be work. And it's like, well, I can have a priority of work and a priority of family, but don't tell me that I can't do my job. Especially when I came back and actually proved it with all the numbers. I was like, my team was improving results. It was very interesting. So that's just the culture that's there. I think that there's still a long way to go to shift that. And it's not just for men, by the way. It's women as well.
I can imagine that there's some very high level women as well who are also in that, I don't even know what to really, structure or environment where they've still got that mentality that's carrying through that. You can't have both. You can only have one or the other. You're either going to be mum or you're going to be a career-driven woman, but you can't be both.
Yeah.
So Now, with the work that you do and you're supporting entrepreneurial women, how do you help them get this, like, let's say balance or this, harmony between wanting to have and build a business that they really are passionate and care about and are excited by, that they love doing? Like, I love what I do and I equally love spending time with my daughter. Like, I just love it. How do you bring that together without that super huge mum guilt for not being there,
Yeah, well, I love that question. And it's really simple, actually. The first thing is just to start off with, well, what does that ideal balance look like for you? Because everybody's different, right? So there is no such thing as a cookie cutter. There's no such thing as the ideal balance. And it doesn't mean 50-50. That means for you, it might be like, well, I want to work 20 hours a week. Someone else might want to work 30. Someone else might want to work 10. So you're putting in your own inputs as to what do you need to have in your life that would make you feel fulfilled, happy, balanced, and you're getting, enough of everything. Like, of course, I think in an ideal world, we all want more of everything, right? We want more time with our families. We want more free time for ourselves. It's like, well, there's only 24 hours in a day. We do need to sleep. I always say, put sleep in first. Before you do anything else, you actually need to put sleep in and then start with the rest of the time. But you can map it out. And it's really interesting, I think, once people do that they realize, oh, actually, I didn't realize how little time I really have to work on the business if I want to be living my ideal life. I think we often are double counting. We're thinking we have these hours here and then we're like, and we want to do this for ourselves. We want to do this for the kids. And we have all these sort of different ideals, but we haven't actually mapped them down on a page and seen, like, does this fit, or are we double counting the hours somewhere? Because that's where we can lead to this place where you're building a business and you're still feeling so frustrated and not fulfilled because you're spending more time working than what you want. It's like, yeah, but you've designed the business that's fitting into those hours and it is designed to be that way. So we have to start off with that end goal to know, what is the goalpost? What are we aiming for here? And is what we're creating, does the math add up? Because if you're creating a service offering that's going to require you to work 40 hours a week to meet your revenue goals and you only want to work 10, it doesn't fit. So it's the wrong offer, the wrong price point, the wrong model for your ideal life. It doesn't mean that it won't work. It can work and it might work really well for someone else, but it's not going to be the right one for you. So it's really understanding what your own balance looks like before we start.
That's so interesting. Like you said there, first of all, like mapping out how you want your time to look like, because until you write something down or put it onto a little spreadsheet or a table, we're sort of manufacturing, like, as you said, was it doubling time? Was that the word you said? That might not even be
we're
there.
double counting. Like, we're kind of allocating hours in our brain to two things and not realizing that we don't have all of that time.
And then looking at your business model or structure and going, all right, well, if this is the time that I want to have for myself and with my family, is this actually the work that I need to do conducive to being available to give me that time? Wow, that's really interesting. I think that's a really good one for anybody, like a starting point, isn't it? To just look at your time, like timetable your week, timetable your hours, see where it lands, see where it looks. And like you said, put sleep in first. I know I love a bit of an 8-hour sleep.
But it's so simple, but it's like anyone at any stage in business, if you're not having the outcome in terms of how your business is fitting into your life that you really want, it's a really good thing to start with. Just, you can print something off the internet. I think I have one of my worksheets for my clients is like a 24-hour, just a 7-day. I was like, right, let's just see what this looks like in a week. So block out your sleep, whatever that is for you, put in the non-negotiables, the absolute things that you cannot budge, and then start to go into the negotiable stuff. So, and that's going to be different for everybody. It really depends on what is happening in your life, what's important to you, what's not, what is non-negotiable and what is negotiable. But
would that also help someone like identify where they may be potentially burning out, where they're like devoting way too much time? And that gives them perspective of like, what is my output versus input? What is my time versus the money I'm making from this? Like how many hours I am spending without dedicating more time to rest or exercise, all those kind of things as well. Does that help people in that respect?
Absolutely. Yeah. It really helps you to see whether, where there's something that's not in alignment, like there's too much here. And like you said, maybe I'm working all these hours, but what I have to show for it is very little. Okay, well, that's a clue then, right? That's a good starting point to say, well, why is that? Let's dive in and see what's actually happening, because there can be multiple reasons why that's happening, but it gives you that starting point to see, okay, something's not right here, and here's the clue. Because when you map that in, you know, if your ideal working hours are very different from what you're currently doing, then you know that there's something that you need to work on to bring that into line.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. So I love that. It's a really good starting point just to see how many hours you want to do. It just brought back a memory. I remember years ago when I started my massage therapy business and I was doing some massage business coaching. I was receiving that from Massage Champions. So they specifically coach natural therapy businesses. And they actually even had like a spreadsheet where they said, map out your whole entire week, like where you need to do laundry, where you need to see clients, where you need to do admin, where you need to go home and eat, where you have your time off. So you can see how many hours you are working. You're not extending yourself like 7 days a week just to see X amount of clients. And then from there, I think it helped them. And you would probably, this is what you're also saying as well, helps you understand like, you know, how many clients you do want to see. Are you charging enough to meet that revenue? If you're seeing too many clients, what needs to shift in there so you've got more time? Is it to raise your prices so you see slightly less? You know, that kind of like tweaking so that you have more structure and more stability in your work and your life.
Exactly. And it helps you make a lot of decisions, not only about your service offering, but even things around your marketing, like what type of marketing activities are you going to do? Well, there's so many different ones, and there's some that are very time intensive. There are other ones that are less time intensive. You're going to be able to select and choose what's going to work for you when you also have that parameter of like, well, I've only got this amount of time. And now even with my working hours, if I need X amount of those hours to be, you know, revenue generating, like whether working with clients, how much time do I actually have left over for the other stuff? So you really need to make that time that you have work for you. And it's the same even if you're outsourcing it. Like even if you outsource something, there's still an element of managing that outsourced person, right? Or communicating with them. So it's not like you get to just shift something off your plate completely. Just what you may be doing in that time will change. But it helps you make some really key decisions and good choices, which means that you do end up with a business that are working for you because you've made the choices that are going to fit into that lifestyle, and you can start having it, you know, now much sooner. Yeah, you just need to go, right, I made this decision. This is what I'm doing. And this is the time that I'm going to take.
Yeah. And then from there, because I know you said earlier that one of your key talents, one of your key things that you can support women in business in is helping them to create that 6-figure business, but do it within 20 hours or I guess maybe less or whatever that 20 hours might look like for them. How does that work? What is the magic sprinkling dust formula, potion, tea?
Love that.
That makes that happen. Because, you know, you hear it a lot, right? Like you hear it a lot from people that, you know, they work 20 hours or less, which when you break it down, if you were to work 4 days a week, that's 5 hours a day, 5 4s are 20. Yeah, good basic maths, Anna. You know, if you were to work like 5 days a week, it's 4 hours a day. So, or it could be 3 days, whatever the division of that is, less than 7 hours a day. So how do you do that? How do you support women to be able to achieve that incredible goal?
Yes. Love the question. And, you know, 20 hours is something I feel is like an average. Definitely had clients who had only 10 hours. And, you know, as I said, there are some who want to work more. They want to work 30. So it's really about making your business model work for you. But I'd say 20 hours is probably a good goal for most parents. We want, you know, it's like kids are at school, fit the work into that time. You're really not spending a lot of time while they're at home or on weekends doing work, which is, you know, the dream, right? But 100% possible. So how do we do it? Well, you know, I'm going to sound a bit boring for a minute here, but it's, we have to get the math. The math has to math, right? The numbers have to add up. So the very first thing is looking at the service model. So when you look at capacity, so how many clients you can serve, pricing of what it is that you're charging, then you start to really quickly see, well, can I make the amount I need to make in this time with the current offerings that I have? Most people will hit their capacity, as in they're maxed out, and they have no more time, but they're still below their revenue goals. And that's simply because they just haven't done the math when they were actually creating their service offering. What normally happens is that they're looking out to the market. They're looking at, what are other people doing? What are other people who are like me charging? What do I think that people will want to pay me for this? So all of the inputs that they're basing their pricing on are coming from the external market. And interestingly, they often will focus on the stuff that's in front of them and ignore the fact that there's actually a huge range out there. What are other people charging? Anything, everything. Like there are people charging almost nothing up to people charging huge amounts, probably for exactly what you do. So asking that question is actually really irrelevant. And there's always going to be someone at every price point. So the interesting thing is that it's usually our own fear around, well, I need to price it at this level because I think that that's what people will buy it at, and not having the confidence or the understanding of really what their expertise could be worth, and also how to package it. So you asked, how do we get this high earning business in less time? The easiest and fastest way is with higher ticket offerings, because you earn more per client and each client takes less time. Now, a lot of people say to me straight away, oh, but if I increase the value of my offerings, it's bigger and it's going to take more time to serve those clients. I'm like, but you're actually applying that from the place that you're currently at and thinking about your current service offering and just making it bigger and adding more things in. I was like, we actually just need to completely start with a blank page and change the way you're even looking at your services and looking at your offerings and what that is. So being more strategic around them, being able to identify and design like a higher ticket offering. You might add one into your existing model. There's so many different ways of doing it, but we're looking at not basing it on whatever you're doing right now and just adding more things on, because as you say, then it will take more of your time. So we're not solving that time issue with doing that. It's about shifting it into a much more strategic, more premium type of offering. So that is a shift and a change in how you're offering that service, probably even who you're offering it to. And that is one of the, there's so many elements that go into this, because in order for you to have that business model that works, you do need to have the right clients. People think, oh, well, they won't buy if it's more. It's like, well, who won't buy? Your current clients, maybe, because they're aligned to you at the price level that you've been offering. But if you're going to offer something that's a more premium type of offering, then that is for a different buyer, right? It's for a premium buyer. So think about, someone that's buying a $50 handbag from Target is not the same person buying a $5,000 handbag from Gucci.
Oh, absolutely.
They are different people. So we're not trying to sell a $5,000 handbag to the Target buyer because they're not interested in it. That's not what they're aligned to. We're thinking, right, we're going to create a premium offering. Who is this premium client? Who am I actually aligning this offering to? And how can you actually shift your positioning so that it is an obvious choice for them?
Yeah, that's really, really important. I know you said it might sound a bit boring, but when you really, really, I hope you listen to that really carefully, because you can hear the solution within that. You're not aiming what you're offering at the lower price point people who are coming to your business. And it is important to have different levels for people. You've got your free, you've got your lower price point, your medium and a higher, if that's the way you want to go. But having something that's at a higher price point, like you said, the Target handbag shopper might not really want to be spending $5,000 on a Gucci handbag because they actually want to spend their $5,000 on a luxury holiday to Bali. That's where they want to spend their money, right? That's where they're aligned. But they just want that thing that you price at $50 because that's going to serve and support them, and that's what they need. If they do want the $5,000 product, well, that's up to them to shift their mindset and energy to reach that. But you, at that point, should already be, like you said, aligning or casting, as I would probably say, cast your mindset, cast your energy, cast that vision out to who is that person that's already got $5,000 or prepared to spend $5,000 or wants to spend $5,000 on your product because you have the solution that's going to help them solve a problem that they've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, the maths is just so easy when you actually do it. So I do encourage you to sit down with a calculator and do the math. Like, what is the end goal? If it's 100K, for example, then you could say, well, let's aim for 10K months. So that'll put you above 100K for the year. So how can you make up that 10K in a month? Well, you could have one $10,000 client per month. You could have two $5,000 clients, or you could have 10 $1,000 clients. And if your price point is below 1,000, keep on adding. So is it easier to find one person to pay $10,000, maybe two people to pay $5,000, or 100 people to pay $100? It just, when you start to look at the volume and what is required, a lot of people think, oh, it's easier to sell something cheap. It may be to one person, but if you're selling something for $100 or you're selling something for $5,000, I know which one person I'd rather be talking to, right?
Yeah.
Like it actually takes almost the same amount of effort to bring someone like that into your world, that they see you, they, become a lead, and then you put an offer in front of them. To create a $100 offer, you still need to price it. You still need to package it. You still need to write the messaging. You still need to create the mechanism for them to sign up. And often with that lower cost, high volume method, you want it to be automated. So there's a lot of technology and systems, and maybe there's some email funnels. Like, let's not be blindsided, I think, by what is the reality of that type of model. And I think a lot of people kind of get sucked into it thinking, oh, it'll be like passive income. I'll create something maybe even more lower ticket than $100. Maybe it's like a $37 course or something. You need to sell that a lot of times to be hitting your targets. I'm not saying don't do it. And maybe it's a really great first step in for people to come out of your audience, to come in with a low ticket offering and then to upgrade into the next one, especially if you've aligned them, which again is another important piece, but we'll cover that another time. But it's like understanding what it's going to take. If that is where your main offering is, you've got a much higher volume, and the work involved in creating that volume is so much more than what's involved in signing two clients at a higher price.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I agree on that, because I'm again reflecting back to massage days, and as I said, I got to a point where it was like, I'm making great money, but I'm also getting a little bit tired from seeing so many people a week, and I actually want to see less people. What am I going to do? So my choice there was like, review my pricing. Maybe it needs to be up to bit, because if I raise the price, it means I can cut out a few more people in there. And then still offering a great service, still offering what I do. And I have to say, and I think this is what a lot of people think as well, like you said earlier, you think, gosh, I raised my price, I have to put more value into this. I have to give them something more to give them the incentive to buy this. Because we always feel like, it's a bit like back in the day, when they had those adverts on TV where like, wait, but there's more. You buy this, you'll get a free set of steak knives. It was always like, you buy this set of encyclopedias and you'll get a knife that cuts through a shoe. Like, who uses a knife to cut through a shoe anyway, right? But you know what I mean? Like, it was always like, but wait, you get more, you get more, you get more. If you just buy this little thing. And maybe somewhere in there, we've always got this thing of like, we want to have, for some of us perhaps, we want to be able to offer more value to give it justification as to why it's priced like that. But in actual fact, and as you said, what you're doing right now is probably more than enough. It's probably just as amazing. Like, at this higher price point, you don't actually have to put more in, because that might take more time and energy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Such good learnings here. And
I think so many women really don't understand the true value of what their expertise is. And it's really easy, because of those natural fears, because of that consumer understanding that we've all developed as we've grown, and we are all consumers, so we're sort of surrounded by it. But when you apply that to a service-based business, it creates this, I need to be pricing this low so someone buys. It needs to always be on sale. I need to be adding things in. Like, let's stop applying product-based mass marketing strategies to our high-value personal expertise services. Like, people are coming to you because you have knowledge, you've got expertise of something they don't have. They can't do it themselves. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go and pick something else off the shelf. No, they're coming to you, and you'll be the right person for them. And because you're showing up in the right way, not just showing up, but what you're saying is resonating with them. You're aligned. You are the right fit for them. They want to work with you. You find that actually, if you're positioning your stuff the right way, people are far less price sensitive than what you think they are. that is an internal reflection that you're often projecting out onto your audience. Like so many times people say things to me and I say, "Does anybody said that to you?" And they're like, "No, that's just what I think that they're going to say, or that's what I think they're going to do." I'm like, "Well, that is coming from inside your brain and you're projecting that out onto your audience. So the fact that you don't believe that they'll buy it at that means that they won't, because you're not even standing behind that price and believing in the value of it yourself."
Yeah.
So how could they possibly buy it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's two things that I've got to remember this. We've all been in a situation where we have overheard someone. Like, I remember constantly going to the shops with my mum. Sorry, mum, I know you're exemplary. But she would often like pick up some clothes in Kmart or somewhere and go, "Oh, I could make that for less. Oh, I could make that for less. Like, I can go to the shops and buy the material and make that for less." It's like, that's great, mum. You do that. You buy the material, the pattern, sit at your sewing machine for 5 hours and make it, not 5 hours, but and maybe she'd have more satisfaction and happiness knowing that she made it. She knows the quality. There's all those things. So we've probably grown up somewhere along the line with someone who's either said it directly to us, like, "Oh, that's a bit expensive. Like, why would you spend $5,000 on a coaching program?" And having that reflect on yourself, or this is the other thing, is you said it yourself as well. You said it somewhere along the line where you're like, "Oh, but I spend $5,000 on a 3-month coaching program. Like, who does that?" So so somewhere in there, you've projected a thought that you're actually, like you said, that's coming from you because you've internalized that and said that somewhere else. So I often find myself, I'm not going to lie, I'm not perfect. I've often sat there going, "Oh, they've priced it at that. Is that something that I think's of value to me? Would I spend that money on that?" And that's my choice as a buyer, where I want to invest my money. But I also catch myself going, "Well, hold on a moment. That's probably what they believe they want to price their thing at, because that's what they believe it's valued at. That's okay." And if anything, I go, "Oh, well, that's really interesting. They've priced it at that. That means it could be possible for me too." Particularly if it's at a level that's a little bit higher than what I'm offering, but we're in the same kind of like industry or same program or something. It's a really good one to catch yourself on, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you can just go out there today and see somebody who's in your space probably charging more than double what you are, and they're fully booked, right? So anytime you're thinking, "I can't raise my price because no one will buy," then that's a really good way to find some evidence to put that aside, because that is just your internal fear talking to you, trying to keep you safe, or where it thinks it's safe. And the interesting thing around the pricing is you have to be the first one to believe in it. There's no point going out there and trying to sell something thinking, "Gosh, I hope someone buys it at this," because that's just going to project that uncertainty out onto your audience.
Hope isn't certainties. Hope just gives a possibility. I hope it's going to be sunny tomorrow. Well, it could be sunny for 5 minutes, but it could be cloudy and start raining. So there's no certainty in that. So you either want it and you believe in it, or you don't. So pick which side of the fence you want to be on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's one of these things that you will only be able to look back and then reflect on it and see the learnings and the lessons. But something that so many people have told me as well, which I 100% agree with, is when you do position yourself in a place where you're going to attract more premium level clients, the truth is they're often much faster to buy, much less in their fear about spending the money on the thing. They're more committed and they show up. They actually put in the work. So they tend to be, especially if you're a coach, any type of that sort of provider where you can't do the push-ups for them. They've got to be able to do it themselves. Like you're helping them, but they need to be invested in this. Well, if they're not actually invested to the level that they've got real skin in the game, you'll find that they're super flaky, and most people won't put in the work that's required to get the result. And so then it's a lose-lose for everyone, because you as the coach, you're not getting the result. It's frustrating. And the person's not getting the result as well, because they're just not that invested in it. So it's so interesting that you find often when you are pricing it at an appropriate level that people are like, "Yes, I'm investing in this because I really want the outcome and I value it. And I value that outcome." They've put enough skin in the game that they're committed to it.
100%.
They 100% are into it. They show up, they do the work, and they get the results. And I've seen that time and time and time again. A lot of people who aren't offering premium, have this perception that they'll be like super high maintenance and drama queens. I'm like, actually, it tends to be the other way around. I tend to find that it is the super low paying bargain buyers who are the most high maintenance, the most demanding, have the highest expectations, but for nothing, and do not respect you or your time at all. So it's really interesting. I think that, anyone who's worried about it because of those things, again, like, where did that perception come from? For
Gosh,
what reason have we made that?
Yeah, like there's so much that you're saying there. I'm going, gosh, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I remember a time of that. So I'm sure that someone listening right now is also casting their mind through not only their business, but the clients that they serve, and having that moment of like internal reflection. There's so much wisdom in there.
Yeah.
I know, for example, one of mine years ago when it came to, again, example of my first business in massage therapy, and just to hook people through the door, I had a really good, cheap offer. And I do remember specifically someone saying to me, don't run that offer forever, because you want to get the people that are wanting and happy to pay full price rather than the cheap ones, because the cheap ones aren't committed. And there was one lady who came to me and she goes, oh, you haven't got your offer anymore. Are you going to do anything else like that? You're going to make another cheap offer for me? And I'm like, you're not my client. I said, no, it was just an introduction. See you later. Bye. You want to pay full price? Here's the booking. Here's the booking. It was really interesting. Like, oh, that is so true. Like, yeah, there's bargain hunters out there, and that's incredible. And I think that's great. But you're right. The people that do invest their money and a high level, a significant portion of their money, will actually be more dedicated and more willing to do the work because of that investment, as opposed to, and not saying people on lower ticket wouldn't, but yes, I agree what you're saying. 9 times out of 10, higher level clients are the ones that are really, I think they're also within that mindset that they're already invested in what they're doing, and they're wanting to create that next level of change within their business. They've identified the gap, the hole, maybe the slight thing that they need tweaking and support on, and they're ready to invest in that, because they don't want to sit at that spot and be 2 years' time in the exact same position. No, in 2 years' time, they want to work 20 hours or less and be on amazing traveling holidays with their family, of course, or doing whatever they else enjoy or aspire to do in their life. Yeah. Such an interesting game that we live in, isn't it?
It's funny because it's like, you hear things and then you test them out. I'm like, I don't know why I felt like I needed to actually experience all of these things myself to learn the lessons. But, I even at one point did a scholarship for one of my programs, gave it for free, and the person never showed up once. So there you go. That was but ever needed evidence that when they don't pay attention. That was it for me, because they actually applied for the scholarship, wanting it. They got it. And because it was free, I think they just did not value it at all, even though obviously it was a high ticket program. So it's all a good learning experience. And now I'm like, okay, I've learned those lessons. I hope not everybody has to go through all the lessons that I've been through.
I was going to say, are there any other lessons that you would be willing to share in regards to this as examples?
Yes, I think the one that was in my head a moment ago, which really has a huge impact on your ability to work less hours and earn more, is actually just being really mindful of the complexity you're building into your business. You don't need multiple revenue streams, even though people say it's really smart and, you need to diversify. The more different stuff you build in for every single different offering or program, it all needs its own systems, admin processes, the back-end management, and the overhead time that you have increases. So that to me, again, was something that I learned the hard way, because I think being an entrepreneur, and anyone listening, you have your own business, you're a visionary type of person. You have ideas and you see potential and opportunities and you get excited about it. You're like, oh yes, that would be so cool if I did that. So I'll add in another program, and I did one where I have my main program, Business Jam, which is, it's got course content, but it's with coaching. So you're sort of not just doing a course on your own. It's really, walking you through a framework, and then there's a level of coaching. But I thought, once people have finished that, I really want to help them to scale. So I created a 12-month group coaching program at a higher price point, sold that. And then I'm like, okay, now I've got these, and then I have some one-to-one, and then I have some little ones. And around this time, my husband said, let's go around Australia in a caravan for a year.
Brilliant.
And I was like, okay. And I had that moment of thinking, I am already working too much. I think my business is top heavy in terms of what's required to run it, even for the revenue that it's generating. It was starting to feel top heavy. And I thought, how can I do this? If we're traveling a caravan, we're going to remote places, there will be no internet access, which I solved by getting Starlink. But still, I was like, I don't want to be at the most beautiful.
Damn technology for actually solving that problem.
Well, it was actually a lifesaver because you had no idea. Literally, you get out of any city in Australia and there's zero bars at Telstra. It wasn't even SOS. Like, it was literally like, flatline. There's nothing.
Yeah.
So if we'd been in trouble, that could have caused some big issues. So that was great. But, it was then more about, well, if we're investing in this trip, we're taking the kids out of school, we're buying a caravan, we're doing this, I want to be on the trip. I want to be enjoying the time. I want to be, experiencing it. I don't want to be stuck in the caravan working the whole time. And so I had to make some big choices in my business. And I closed down the 12-month group program. I scaled back, the one-to-one. I put the main program into an automation, method for bringing new people in. And it was hard to make those decisions. It sounds easy now because just sort of reel it off. Oh, I closed down this. But I was like, that program earned me $80,000.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to shut that down. It was sort of like my brain starts going, are you insane? But then I was like, well, it's not viable. It doesn't meet my vision of the life that I want to live. And if I remove it, I can focus on the two, the higher ticket, the one-to-one, and then the lower level, but still, it's still a high ticket because it's in the thousands, but program. If I focus on those two, I can still live the life because I've got much more control over my time and I'm not locked into, certain timeframes for sessions and things like that. I can have my calendar and I can manage it. So I made those choices so that we could have the trip. And I actually thought, well, as long as I can keep the business going and it's not going to go down or die while we're on the trip, then that'll be a win. But what actually happened was we got home and I did the numbers at the end of the year and my revenue had gone up 7%, which I was like, I didn't expect it to go up, but my profit had gone up 55%. 55% increase in my profit margins.
In actually like stepping back,
doing less,
taking your hands off the reins and doing less.
And it was like,
I love it. I love it.
I was like,
wow,
there we go. And it's interesting because I kind of hadn't even believed in it myself to that level because I thought I was cutting out so much, but it just was such a good wake up call of like, look at what happens when you simplify. Look what happens when you just focus on, one main thing that you're marketing, bring people in there. Yes, they can always upscale to one-to-one, but I'm not trying to market different things and have something I'm talking about over here and then something different here. And, like the more complexity you build in your business, honestly, the harder it is to grow and you're preventing your business from growing easily.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So let's just circle back around to one thing. So at the very start of our conversation, you shared that you knew there was a lifestyle you wanted to have and it wasn't conducive to working in the corporate world and that needed to change. But bringing that lifestyle into the now, what does that look like for you? How did that actually happen? If you know what I mean.
How did the lifestyle happen?
Yeah. So you said like at the very start of our conversation, we said that, we often project a lifestyle that we want to work towards without realizing that actually you need to bring it into you now as if it is really happening now, because otherwise we're continuously like working towards that image, that goal, that desire, that the thing that we want. So when you knew that that was what you wanted, what were some of the things that you like, apart from just being a bit more of a present mum, pick them up after school and, do drop-offs and pickups and things like that. What else was it within that lifestyle that you were like, this is what I want to bring into my life?
Yeah, there were a number of things and it's actually surprising how quickly it happened. Like I surprised myself. We were living in Brisbane at the time and we had wanted to move and live by the beach for many years, but because of my job, I'd been tied to the city. So the vision was to move to live by the beach in a house with a pool and be walking distance to be able to pick the kids up, to be able to travel. You know, my parents live overseas from us, so it was like definitely to be able to travel and see them at least once a year, and to be able to do other traveling, because my husband and I both are traveler types. We love exploring, and we've been all over the world together. So that was really, I guess, the high level vision. And interestingly, so even within 18 months, we had moved to the coast. We were at first renting the house, but it was, you know, the house with the pool. And then we bought our own house about a year later. So we now live about 100 meters from the sand. We have a pool and we're living in the ideal location. And it's like, well, that was happening while my business was still an absolute baby. You know, no way we were at the revenue goals that I'd set for it. But here we are living in the place that we said we wanted to live in. Like, of course, we can upgrade everything. Like, we can upgrade our house, which we want to do. The house I'm in, we want to knock down and build. And those plans are kind of in underway now. So there's always going to be upgrades. But it's like, if you define what it is that you actually want, it's amazing how quickly that can happen, because you'll start to then see, oh, there's an opportunity. Now we could do this. Well, what if we could buy the house now or move now? Or how could we do it? You know, you can make those things happen. For me as well, on a personal level, exercise, that was something, living in the corporate world, I was like, that really got deprioritized, because I was like, had a job, had my kids. You know, that time for me really just got squeezed out because it couldn't fit in if I was going to sleep as well. So, you know, that was a big component for me. And, you know, it's something that I'm happy to say I fit in exercise almost every day. You know, today I did a walk 10,000 steps, you know, along the beach path, and got that in before I started work this morning. So it just means that, you know, that's possible. And I'll often just take time in the middle of the day. The kids are at school. I know it's the ideal time to be working, but I'm like, no, my priority and what I said I wanted in my life was to exercise and to feel good. And I'm going to be a better person working on my business if I'm doing that. So I will just take off, and you'll often see me posting, you know, reels or, you know, videos that I've literally filmed while I'm walking in my singlet, a bit sweaty.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I've got the
real life
to say something now, so I'll just do it.
Yes. Yeah. Real life. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good thing that you've shared there, that you can bring in elements of that life that you dream of living or wanting to have now. And it can be big and it can be small things, right? Like, you know, for you prioritizing your health. So how are you going to bring that into the life that you want to live, rather than waiting, well, when my business gets to this, then I will be able to go and prioritize my health. Yeah.
You will always have a to-do list longer than what you can ever achieve. So if you don't stop and put it down, shut the laptop and get out there and have that time, you'll always find something to fill that time with. So it's about you kind of going, this is what I'm committing to, and I'm going to do it because I know that that's better for me in the long run. You know, the rest is so important. It's so important for your brain to just have that time off. And then, you know, it's the same thing, like travel was part of my vision. Like, well, you actually have to book the trip, right? So you know, well, COVID sort of put a great big stop to a lot of that in the middle for us. But then the caravan trip we did, you know, we did that for 8 months, came back, we've been to New Zealand. My parents live over there. So we've got another couple of trips already booked in. We go in a couple of months, and then like Christmas. So it's like, you know, you just do it. Like, why can't you? I'm always like, what is it that you're telling yourself is the reason why you can't? My business is online. I can go, and I'm going to be there for a month over December, January. I can do a bit of work from there, you know? Yeah. They've got the internet.
Exactly.
I'm just going to block out a lot of time in my calendar to make sure that I'm having a holiday as well.
Yes.
And definitely get what you need to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. I loved everything you shared, Jess. It's been so insightful, this conversation about not only time management, like looking at how we're spending our time or where we're wanting to spend our time within our week, and how that reflects in the work that we need to do or that has to be done within our business, bringing in that aspect of your life, this dream life, your future life, into the now, because however else is it going to get here? And then, really sharing your wisdom and how you support women in business to create that strategic profitable business model and offers in alignment with the money that they want to achieve. And how we just really talked so openly and just so many insights within that of pricing and how important that is and where that comes from within our own psychology. Loved it. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for coming on to the Alchemy Mindset podcast. So much value being in this. I'm really, really looking forward to following you on the socials and finding out where your next travels are. I think you said you're getting back over to New Zealand, Wanaka, for some snowboarding.
Mm-hmm. Brand new snowboard coming in the mail soon. I've just ordered it, which is exciting.
Oh, fun times, fun times. So now, how can people find you and all those fun things as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I hang out on a few places online, probably Instagram or Threads is probably where I really hang out. I don't know, I'm really taken to Threads. I think it's so easy just to pop something up and you don't actually need a picture or image. So come and connect with me and hang out there, join in the conversation. And on my website, if you're really wanting to have a look at, more of what I do in my business, then you can head over to jessicaosborn.com. I have a free training class. So if some of what I was talking about today really resonated with you and you're like, well, how do I attract premium clients? I have an online class. It's kind of just over an hour, probably about 80 minutes of your time. And I talk to you about the 5 keys to premium clients. So you can really unpack what that strategy looks like. The offer we've talked a little bit about today, that's sort of one of the 5 keys. So then I'll share the other 4 with you. And I've had so many people tell me they've gained so much out of that class. So you're
fantastic
welcome to do that.
Yeah, amazing. I'm going to check it out. Always love learning something new. Thank you so much, Jess. It was wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a fabulous day.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to today's episode. Please rate and review this podcast so that it can continue to thrive and reach more listeners. I love to know who my listeners are, so please screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram at Anna F. Hasty. And I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode.